Welcome to the Confident Retirement Podcast. How confident are you when it comes to life's biggest money decisions? What is real financial peace and how can you get it? Kris Flammang and Mark Peachy are the founders of LPF Advisors in Sarasota, Florida. They bring together the brightest minds to show you how to have a more confident financial future. They empower listeners with common sense concepts and financial wisdom. And now, here are your hosts, LPF Advisors. Hey, I want to welcome everybody to the Confident Retirement Podcast brought to you by LPF Advisors. I'm your host here as always, Kris Flammang. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming Dana Brooks to the show. She is an award-winning partner in a Florida-based law firm, advocating for injured clients, helping them thrive despite their challenges. Dana, thanks for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kris. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun. So you have a really interesting background. I was kind of researching that, not stalking you, but I was researching that online. Maybe just take us through briefly how you got to where you are today.
First of all, I tell people I have been around lawyers and in a law firm since I could walk almost, and I don't have it in my family. I just lucked up in high school. I came from very modest beginnings, raised in, I guess she was pretty much poverty by a single mother. And I worked in high school. Mm-hmm. And so I got a job at a law firm. And so I worked 8:30 to 5:30 my junior and senior year of high school. And I did the books. And back then they were ledger books and loan closings and stuff like that. And then I became educated and I was a paralegal for a number of years. I got into a particular niche I really enjoyed, which was medical malpractice. And I did it on the defense side. I was married to a medical malpractice lawyer. So I was they call me marinated in it. Everything about me was med mal. I've really never practiced any other type of law, even though I now own a personal injury law firm. I've never handled car accidents or something false or anything. I've always done med mal. Went to law school after becoming a therapist. I was a clinical social worker for a while and a family law mediator. Went to law school, got out, had this opportunity to become a partner in an established personal injury law firm, about a 35-year-old law firm. Got the opportunity while I was still in law school. And I just said yes. And it turned out to be a great decision. I got sworn in as a lawyer at 11:30 one day and made a named partner of this law firm at 4:00 the same day. Blew my mind.
Yeah.
That's a big target on your back. And so I had a lot of performance anxiety and imposter syndrome, and I had to fake it till I made it. But got thrown in the deep end, tried a lot of cases, med mal on the plaintiff side now, of course, right off the bat, and had a lot of successes. And then the practice changes. You know, we're dependent on a lot of laws and things like that. And med mal is kind of fallen out of favor. And I do more managing and marketing of this law firm now.
Okay. All right. That's really interesting. I'm going to ask you about the mental health counseling, the social work stuff later. So if you could go back in time, maybe to speak with the younger you, Dana, is there maybe some advice that you would give that person, something you know now that you wish you knew then? Or no?
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question because it's what I wrote a book about. That was a prompt someone gave me one time to speak on. And I did this seminar and I broke it down into like 6 areas of life, you know, what I tell myself about dating or being a mother or education or career. And then it went ever so well, then it turned into my book. So I have a lot to say about what I would have told myself. Mainly, I would have given myself a lot of different advice about money and relationships. I would have told myself much earlier that no, you don't necessarily have to hit your star to somebody's wagon to have success. Your success isn't necessarily tied to the husband, you know, you choose. And in fact, that can be a very, painfully horrible financial decision if you choose the wrong one. So I think I would have told myself to be more serious about money earlier.
Okay. And you mentioned that imposter syndrome thing, which everybody struggles with. And that can be hard to overcome. Have you found ways that you deal with that, or how have you kind of overcome that? Because you come across as very confident. Obviously, you're very accomplished, successful in what you do. So how did you because this is something that a lot of people face. How did you come to terms with that?
I hide behind my exterior. Okay. I'm very tall. I'm 5'9".
Okay.
I usually have big, full, long blonde hair. I kind of, you notice me. And so I've always been kind of aloof, people say. And I don't feel aloof. I feel like a goofball. I'm the girl you want to hang out with at the party, promise you. But I don't look like that.
Right.
And I don't give that aura. Like when I went to law school, I graduated 3 days before I turned 40. So I'm in school with people 15 years younger than me. And I'm intimidated by them. They don't see that at all.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was just, I have a lot of advantages, natural gifts that I didn't earn that have allowed me to have a front. And when I started practicing, even though I got thrown in the deep end, I was 40 years old. I didn't look like a kid in part of the judges. So it's part of what I put in my chapter in my book called Use Everything You Got.
Okay. I like that.
Take an inventory. You got more than you think. Use everything you've got.
Right. That's good advice. I like that. So you kind of went through how you chose your firm's main focus because you kind of came into the firm and it was already established. So I'm curious, with your background in mental health and social work, how does that tie into your practice with how you deal with clients and the approach that you take?
I use those skills more than I have ever used anything I learned in law school. I will tell you that. And I actually spent some time this week with another lawyer who has a psychology background. And she said, oh, that's the one. I mean, that's the skill you got to have, at least in our part of practicing law. We're personal injury lawyers. I'm not in somebody's life if things went great. They're not coming to me because they got a pile of money and they want me to help them spend it. No, they're coming to me because they've experienced a loss they can't absorb on their own. And they got to navigate a system they're ignorant in or unskilled to do. So you have to meet your clients where they are, and they're needing help and they're scared and they don't want to feel embarrassed and incompetent to handle their own personal business. So much of it is that. And I have a lot of women lawyers. We're 75% women owned. And you think, a lot of people, wouldn't want a woman a lawyer. That's our ace in the hole. People feel better and more vulnerable talking to women about things, especially men, believe it or not. So the psychology background, the natural nurturing type of a thing that women give, those are all advantages in our practice.
Yeah. My background is in psychology also. So I 100% agree that I've used that far more than the financial acumen things that we have to do when we're working with people. Okay,
well, they call you and us counselors,
Right. Yeah.
That's a large part of the gig.
Well, people often say to me, I don't understand why I'm telling you all this stuff. I said, I'm just asking questions and listening. That's all I'm doing. Well,
you hardly ever fail to benefit from more information. Most of the problems in the world, people don't get enough information. They're operating off assumptions and hunches. So it's good to ask. You can just ask, learn a lot.
So that's a good lead in. Maybe could you describe your ideal client for our listeners, or a typical or an ideal person that you work with?
I could do that because that is part of what I do. Part of what we do in managing and marketing this firm is we get advice from people in masterminds and people who are doing things at a higher level. And one of them, the first thing you do is you create an avatar of your client. You put your ideal client, and you need to have some basis for that. I go back and I look at the zip codes of where my larger settlements come from, or where's my bread and butter cases coming from. And I know how to market to those people, particularly for what I'm looking for. There are certain people, like we call them vectors. These are people who are never going to be our clients, but they're people whose housekeepers and mechanics may be our clients. So there are different spheres of people I'm trying to reach with my marketing efforts. But I have an avatar of a client. Okay. And then I have also avatars of people I think will send those clients to me.
Okay.
But for me, if you're asking our particular one, we tend to target women in the 40 to 65. And it's not necessarily because they're their patients. It's because they're the decision makers in the homes. And so they'll be the ones who'll say, I'm tired of seeing you laying up. I'm tired of you moaning all the time. You need to get to the doctor. You need to get to a lawyer. And I like this lawyer. Go to her.
Okay. And when someone meets with your firm, are there some common misconceptions that you typically help them to overcome? I mean, about what you do or about what you can do for the person. A lot of times they have unrealistic expectations, maybe.
I think managing client expectations is the number one job we have. And that comes up a lot of times because we are car accident attorneys. People call because their car's damaged. They want help with that. We're injury attorneys. So, that's frustrating for them.
Right. Yeah.
And then when I was doing a lot of medical malpractice, people wanted the doctor's licenses taken. And I can't do that. And I can't present evidence of all the other times he did horrible thing. I can't get you your pound of flesh, I guess is what I would say. And then what I can get, especially in medical malpractice, because of the statutory scheme limiting recovery, I have to explain the concept of a free kill is the most vulgar term you've ever heard. That's whenever someone can die from medical malpractice, and because they're unmarried and over 25, or unmarried and don't have children who are 25 or younger, there's no recovery. So I have to give people bad information that doesn't make sense. That's why you have to have a counseling background, I think, and you have to be a good listener. You have to have empathy, and you have to understand how frustrating it is to them and acknowledge that.
Yeah, that's very well said. Maybe for people that aren't aware, on a high level, could you briefly take me through the steps of a personal injury case, a typical one?
Sure.
Just so we have the picture of that in our mind.
Yeah. And here's the thing about personal injury cases. This is going to be the process and the way it goes, no matter what law firm you choose. It's just a matter of how they handle their client contact relations. But every one of these cases starts when someone is hurt. They reach out to an attorney, hopefully sooner rather than later, because you'll lose evidence, stuff like that. And you need to be treating. In Florida, you need to see a doctor within 14 days because of the PIP laws and stuff. So you get in, if you're hurt, then you reach out to a lawyer. They'll look at you. They'll see, does this look like a claim we should pursue? Is there any insurance? Is there ability to get paid? Because a lot of times you may be hurt really bad, but the person has no insurance, not enough, and you didn't buy uninsured motorists. So you're on your own with that. And that's too bad. But they typically go like this. You hire the lawyer makes sure you're treating, make sure you're actually injured. And then we get the records. And when the doctor says you're as good as you're going to get, maximum medical improvement, meaning you may be permanently injured for the rest of your life, but I can't do more for you right now. And I know pretty much what you're looking at. So your case is ripe to send to demand. The medical records, all the evidence of the crash, evidence of liability, anything, that supports the case gets sent to the insurance carrier. The lawyers aren't involved at that, stage on the defense side. It's just on your side, the injured person side. The demand goes out, the insurance carrier and the lawyer negotiate. And if they can work out, a good settlement, that occurs. If there's something they're fighting about, or they're not putting the right kind of money on it, it may have to go into a lawsuit and litigation. But that is typically, 20%, maybe. 30 would be a lot for most people to have in litigation. We just had tort reform in Florida. That has changed some of that because we went from a 4-year to a 2-year statute of limitations. So a ton of lawsuits got filed this year. So all that has to shake out. But when it all evens out, it probably is going to be maybe a little more lawsuits than it has been, but that's how it goes. If you have a lawsuit, then your insurance company hires a lawyer to defend you. You don't have to come out of pocket. Your insurance company has panel counsel that they hire. And your lawyer continues to work, and they may have depositions. You'll exchange some written discoveries, what they call it, paper documentation of all your claims. They'll investigate it. There may be witness depositions. Then you'll eventually go to a mediation. Again, most cases settle and resolve there, but if they don't, then you go on to trial. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. And are there some initial obstacles that you typically help clients overcome? Are they mostly emotional? Because I can think about someone going through, you're sad, then you're mad, then you're resentful, then you're hateful, but do they go through that whole myriad of things, or are there other things?
Yeah. And again, a lot of that is informed by facts we can't control, like insurance coverage. Or that particular insurance carrier. Sometimes some of those carriers will just say, we're digging our heels in and we're taking this approach across all claims. And then you just know, oh man, I got that carrier. This is going to be a dogfight. Or this carrier's been pretty reasonable lately. I can probably get this case wrapped up in 6 months. There are a lot of variables, and your client is understandably going, I just came to you for now. Why am I caught up in the climate of this policy change at some insurance? Just take care of me. Why do I have to do this? And they also really, a lot of times, don't understand policy limits. They think just because you have insurance, they're going to cover anything. They're not going to cover it beyond, what they have to. So it's just a lot of ignorance that has to be corrected. And again, it's very hard when it just doesn't make common sense. When
Yeah.
you have to explain the law and they go, well, that just doesn't make sense. And they're dubious of you and they're like, do you know what you're doing?
Right.
So
yeah, and you probably agree, but you're there to tell them what the law actually says.
I'm like, I am not a legislator.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Who wants to do that? Is there, so you've kind of alluded to this, but is there a time in a client case where it's just obvious that you're going to have to litigate? I mean, you mentioned the digging in the heels. Are there other circumstances where that's the case?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have a case that is so serious, you need to file on it, or it could be something that, oh gosh, there could be a million things. Sometimes things go right into litigation. There are sometimes like in medical malpractice, you have a statutory pre-suit scheme that you've got to go through these hoops before you can file, but you put those things in motion. When on our side, justice denied is justice delayed. And if our claims do not get better as they get older.
Yeah.
So we're wanting to move on everything as soon as we can. But there are some things that go right into litigation. It could be a catastrophic injury case. It could be a case where, there's a hotly disputed liability and they just tell you to pound sand from day one and you just get to it. So we have valuation committees and screening committees to make sure, when a case comes in, it is put on the right track immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in some cases you can see this is likely we're going to litigate based on the circumstances. Okay.
Again, like with a slip and fall, you're going to get into litigation with those, especially now with the tort reform. If you are more than 51% liable, it's a bar to recovery now. Yeah. We used to have complete comparative, where you would pay your share. But now if if it's more than 50% your fault, you got the whole freight on it. So those will get litigated.
All right. So I mentioned in the beginning that one of the focuses of your practice is to help people thrive despite their challenges. Yeah. So I'm curious, what do you consider a good outcome for a client? Or maybe a recent example, obviously not exposing any personal details, but maybe an example of where you feel like you've really made an impact on a client's life.
Oh, that is a joyful answer. I have so few clients because my cases were very big. I know them for years and I get to know these people. And so one of them's right outside my door right now. She's working for us. But a wonderful story. She's an excellent example. She was a welfare mother and her children's father was in jail for drugs and she had 3 kids. She was taking care of her own. She's disabled herself and she had a 4-year-old daughter and her daughter died from medical malpractice. And when I got a recovery, we needed to protect her benefits, that sort of thing. But she says, I got to get a house and I got to get out of the city or my sons are going to end up like their dad. And so we did that. And I got her with a financial planner. We put her money in the right place. We got her going. She wanted to work. She didn't want to be on welfare. We got her a job that messed up her benefits. Those kids graduated high school. They got scholarships. They went to college. She, has a good car. She doesn't buy a car or sign an insurance contract without sending it to me. And I settled her case 10 years ago. Okay. But I am still her lawyer. But that's what I like. I like to put people, I don't just give them a check. Say, listen, you can start that business now. But you need to understand what a business plan is. To have a business is more than just, I have a passion for baking cakes, and so we try to give people assets. We have, our literal tagline is come back stronger. And we have a television show we started where we showcase people who have overcome some sort of significant adversity and gotten their own lives together and then are helping other people in incredible ways. And it just started from us selling our clients that we're not just going to give you a check. I'm going to give you an opportunity for a different, better life. And we walk our talk. That's what we live for. That's the stuff that gets you going. Yeah,
that's great. And just to see how it completely changes the trajectory of their life and their kids' life, that's worth any payment that you could get. 10 times over. I agree 100%.
And this woman owns her own home, Yeah. I mean, what pride. And she has a job, at a big deal law firm. And she's changed her life.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's shift gears just a little bit. I have a couple more questions. What do you kind of see as the biggest maybe challenge or obstacle that's facing the law firm going forward? Is it the tort reform? Is it getting new clients? Is it, what do you see as the big obstacle that you want to overcome?
Right now, it's for us, particularly, it's growing pains. We have grown, but we have not scaled.
Yeah.
So we're going through the very difficult process of taking something that when 1 looked good, 3 looked better.
Right.
And then we did 6. And so now you got 6 instead of some efficiencies, you know.
Yeah.
We got 6 little law firms. So that's very painful because we don't have the structure we need for this kind of growth. And we've had to enlist coaches and professionals, people. We've got coaches. We've got people who are, believe it or not, kind of like counseling. There's 5 of us there's 2 decision makers, but with heavy input from 3 other people. And we were having interpersonal friction.
Yeah.
And so we got a counselor. We had personality assessments. We assessed each other. We did all this, very self-effacing thing. And we worked on management styles and people started being more comfortable delegating and forming committees and, not being involved in everything. So it was it was basically like, okay, it's time to grow up. You really want to be this, big 8-figure law firm, then we need to start doing some grown-up stuff and not acting like, sorority, frat boy, just we started making money. This is cool. Let's keep doing it. I mean, that's exactly where we are.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Now, a struggle for us is always going to be getting clients because now this is such a lucrative industry. The money that is in the personal injury law firm sphere in this country is alarming. It's a lot of hedge fund money. They're buying up leads. So we can't compete for our own business anymore. We have to buy our business back from these lead generators. It's demoralizing.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You're seeing like in Arizona and Nevada, I think, or Utah, wherever it is out west, they're allowing non-lawyers to own law firms. That's not going as well as people thought, as I understand. But there's a lot of challenges like that because, it's like John Morgan on steroids. John Morgan's always the boogeyman for people like us because he can outspend us all the time.
Yeah.
And he will come into your market and get about 1/3 of the share. Yeah. You better hope you've got a good foundation when he comes in there. That's all I can tell to people.
Right.
But these people make him look like chump change, that are in this sphere. Yeah. So to be a biggest challenge for me as an individual who owns this law firm is to stay on top of stuff like that, know what's coming around the corner.
Yeah. Right. And you if you don't do that, it's at your own peril. For 100%.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate you sharing that. So if people want to learn more about you or your practice, or get in touch, what is the best way for them to do that?
I like to receive a text.
Okay.
And I give my cell phone number to everybody.
Okay.
It's 850.
Even me?
Yeah, everybody. It's on my business card. It's on my Facebook.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. This is not a privilege. Okay.
Okay.
But believe it or not, I've done this for years and people don't abuse it. They really don't.
Yeah.
My partners are like, I will never. And I'm like, it's a very good thing to do. People don't abuse it. But it's 850-766-2825. And my email, which I am not real fast at getting to, but I will get to it, is Dana, Dana, at fasigbrooks.com, FASIGBROOKS.com.
Okay. Thanks, Dana. I'll send you a text, but it won't be today. I promise. I won't take advantage of it. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. This was a true pleasure.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I want to thank
any of those hard questions I don't know anything about. Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and listening, watching the Confident Retirement Podcast brought to you by LPF Advisors, where we're hoping to bring the financial confidence of everyday people to a new level, one show at a time. Thanks, everybody, for listening, tuning in. Take care, be well, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Dana.
You've been listening to the Confident Retirement Podcast with Kris and Mark from LPF Advisors. For more information on them and retiring confidently, please visit lpfadvisors.com. If your ears are pleased and your mind is now at ease, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.